Moonlight Special. Part 1 Clearance Aisle. You ever walk into a Walmart past midnight? Fluorescent lights buzz like they're hiding voices, and the shelves feel taller than they should be. There's something wrong about being the only one moving in a space that big. Like you're not really alone. That's what Charlie Haverly was thinking when he wheeled his squeaky cart past the freezer aisle of the Lakewood, Montana Walmart at 1:12 a.m. He needed milk. He found blood instead. It started with a puddle near the back coolers. Dark, thick. Not that watery red you see in movies. Real blood is heavy. It sticks. He thought maybe it was a busted meat package at first, until he saw the fingernail stuck in the middle of it. Human. Still pink. Still fresh. Then came the sound. A low grunt, like someone exhaling through a throat full of gravel. He turned. Saw movement behind the stacked pallets of 2-for-1 bottled water. Then something stood up. Too tall. Too hairy. Too wrong. Eyes like boiling gold. Teeth like broken glass. It growled. Charlie screamed. And that was the last sound he ever made. 48 hours later. Dean Winchester hated small towns. Small towns meant no good coffee, cranky sheriffs, and usually something feral eating through the livestock, or the locals. Sam sat shotgun, flipping through crime scene photos from his laptop. Victim's throat was torn open. No sign of a blade. No defensive wounds. Dean sipped from a gas station cup. No signs of struggle? In the middle of a goddamn Walmart? Sam turned the screen. Security footage cuts out right before it happens. Then comes back with the body already on the floor. Blood everywhere. Looks like a werewolf, Dean. Dean exhaled. Great. Big box bloodbath. Let's check it out before they roll out Silvertooth Colgate. They parked beside the Lakewood Walmart at sunset. The store was still open. Still humming. A shrine of candles and stuffed animals sat outside the sliding doors, where the automatic glass had been replaced with plywood. They flashed FBI badges at the night manager, a woman named Carla with tired eyes and a mop of red curls. She looked like she hadn't slept since Charlie died. I already told the cops everything, she said. He was just gone. 1 second stocking shelves, next second, they're scraping him into a bag. Dean nodded. You mention any large, hairy customers recently? Carla blinked. Like a bear? Sam smiled gently. More like unregistered pets. She paused. Actually, yeah. Now that you say it. This guy came in last week. Big dude. Weird eyes. Bought like 12 cans of wet dog food. Dean raised a brow. What brand? Carla shrugged. Beef and bone marrow, I think. Dean turned to Sam. That's either our guy or a furry with problems. They checked the aisle where Charlie died. The dried blood had been scrubbed, but the scent lingered, thick with copper and rot. Sam knelt. No signs of claws. No fur. Whatever it was, it cleaned up after itself. Dean frowned. Since when do werewolves know how to use a mop? Sam stood. Maybe this one's smarter. More careful. They didn't notice the camera above aisle 9 pivoting slightly. Didn't hear the low snarl over the intercom static. Didn't see the gold eyes watching from the electronics section. That night, they booked a room at the Timberline Motel. Dean sprawled on the bed, cleaning his silver dagger. Sam stood at the window, phone pressed to his ear. "Garth, you still tracking those rogue packs out west?" On the other end, Garth sounded half asleep. "Montana? Yeah, heard chatter a while back. Packs splintered near the Idaho border. One went solo. Real unstable. Wasn't turning for hunger. Just rage." Sam frowned. "You think he made it this far? Wouldn't be the first mutt who liked Isle sails." Sam hung up. Turned to Dean. "Garth says we might be dealing with a lone wolf. One that kills for pleasure." Dean slid the dagger into its sheath. "Well, we'll give him something to chew on." Back at Walmart, something moved between the aisles. It crouched near the toy section. Sniffed a Spider-Man plushie. Clawed hand trembling. The creature's face twitched, part man, part beast. Jaw straining against something internal. A whisper in its head. A voice. Not instinct. Hunger. It sniffed again. Caught the scent. New. Different. Familiar. Hunters. It smiled. And in the quiet hum of late-night checkout, it whispered, "Come and find me." Part 2, Rollback Horror. Lakewood's Walmart ran 24 hours, 7 days a week. The graveyard shift meant no crowd, no daylight, and no one around to scream. By the time the Winchester brothers rolled in again, posing as local law enforcement, naturally, the place had that same haunted feeling Dean hated. Too clean. Too quiet. Like death had been scrubbed from the tiles but not from the air. They entered around 11:40 p.m. Carla was gone tonight. Some kid named Tyler was managing, pimply, awkward, twitchy. Kept asking them if they wanted to round up for the veterans. Dean didn't even answer. He was scanning for movement, sniffing for blood beneath the scent of pine sol and popcorn chicken. Sam tapped Dean's arm. "Check this." He handed over his phone. Security footage from last night. Tyler had emailed it to them. In the footage, just past 2 a.m., one of the aisle lights flickers. Then movement. Not a person. Something lower. Faster. A blur of limbs and fur. It stalks behind a woman in pajama pants who's checking the freezer door. Then it stops. Tilts its head. Looks right at the camera. Those eyes. Golden. Burning. Hungry. "Still think it's a dumb mutt?" Sam asked. Dean frowned. "It knows it's being watched." Sam nodded. "It's hunting on its own terms. Picking late hours. Avoiding cameras. Choosing victims who come alone." Dean loaded a clip of silver bullets into his pistol. "Well, I shop alone. Let's go say hi." They split up. Dean went left toward hardware. Sam took electronics. Dean passed clearance, eyes skimming empty aisles and abandoned carts. The hum of the lights above pulsed like static, too loud, too sharp. Every so often, he'd catch something just out of sight. A flicker. A blur. But it wasn't attacking. It was watching. Sam moved between television's flashing cheap action movies. That's when he saw it, a single footprint. Bare. Huge. But not human. The toes were too long. The pad thick. Clawed. "Dean," he whispered into his mic. "It's still here." Dean's voice came back low. "No kidding. I've got that hair on the back of my neck feeling." Then a scream. Far off. A customer? No. Employee. Dean ran first. Sam behind him seconds later. They tore through seasonal decor, past rows of back-to-school backpacks, until they reached the garden center, and found Tyler, or what was left of him. The kid had been torn in half, one leg still twitching, his upper body crumpled near a stack of rakes. Blood sprayed across plastic lawn chairs like abstract art. Dean swore under his breath. Then they heard it, above them. A snarl. They looked up. And saw it, crouched in the steel rafters, gold eyes shining through the artificial light. A werewolf. But not like others they'd hunted. This one was lean, long-limbed, almost gaunt. Its fur mottled black and silver. And its mouth? Smiling. It leapt. Dean fired 1, 2, 3 shots. Silver rounds hit metal as the creature vanished between aisles. Sam aimed and fired 2, but it was fast. Too fast. Not just speed. It was toying with them. "Dean, did you see its eyes?" Sam asked, catching his breath. Dean nodded. "Smart. Calculating." He looked toward the blood trail. "And not hungry. Didn't eat the kid." Sam knelt by Tyler's remains. This wasn't feeding. This was a message. Dean looked around. Bright fluorescent Hell's Gate. Aisles full of empty security cameras. "This place is its den." They regrouped at the front. Pulled up floor plans on a store tablet. Sam traced a finger along the layout. "There's a maintenance tunnel. Runs beneath the store. Access is locked, but if this thing's smart, it's been living down there." Dean cracked his neck. "Guess we're taking the express lane to the underworld." They found the hatch in the janitor's closet. Locked. Rusted. But it creaked open with effort. The air that spilled out was rank, like sweat and rotting fur. They climbed down, flashlights on, guns loaded. The tunnel was tight, lined with busted pipes, forgotten boxes, and graffiti that didn't feel like it belonged to teenagers. Symbols scratched in rust, claw marks in the concrete, hair stuck to vents, and something else. Journals. Sam picked one up, covered in dirt and blood. The pages were full of mad scribbles, but one phrase kept repeating. "He told me what I was. He said I was chosen. Moonlight's not a curse. It's a crown." Dean exhaled. "Great. A werewolf cultist." Sam flipped to the back page. There was a map drawn in pencil, and at the center, the Walmart logo, underlined, over and over. Suddenly, a howl split the tunnel. Close. Echoing off the concrete. The walls shook, and the temperature dropped. Not natural. This wasn't just physical anymore. There was something else at play. Dean raised his gun. Sam unslung his machete. And both of them knew. They weren't hunting a monster. They were walking into a ritual. Part 3, Moonsick Messiah. The maintenance tunnel beneath the Lakewood Walmart stretched farther than it should have. Too far for a small-town retail store. And it sloped downward, as if the building had been built over something deeper. Sam and Dean moved quietly, flashlights cutting through the black, weapons drawn. The air smelled like rust, wet fur, and rot. But underneath that, something sweeter. Like meat left in the sun. "This tunnel's not on any blueprint," Sam whispered. Dean grunted. "That's because it's not a tunnel." He kicked aside a half-rotted crate. Beneath it, a stone floor. Old. Cracked. Carved with worn runes. Sam crouched. Ran a finger along the marks. Not Celtic. Not Norse. Older. Older than wolves? Dean asked. Sam stood. Older than God. The tunnel opened into a chamber. Circular. Walls made of rough-hewn rock and industrial piping, like the store had been built right over some forgotten pit. And at the center, a throne, made of shopping carts, twisted, welded, decorated with strips of flannel, clumps of fur, price tags, and what looked like teeth. A blood-stained Walmart vest hung from the top like a crown. On the wall behind it, written in what had to be blood, "The first hunger returns." "Jesus," Dean muttered. "Not his territory," Sam replied. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind them. Not fast. Measured. They spun, guns raised. A figure stepped into the chamber. Human. Maybe. He was tall, wearing torn jeans, no shirt, skin crisscrossed with ritual scars that pulsed under the flashlight. His eyes? Gold. Burning. And his mouth pulled into a too-wide grin. "You found the altar," he said, voice smooth. Too calm. "I've been waiting." Dean stepped forward, pistol raised. "You the freak chewing through night shifts?" The man didn't blink. "I was born in the dirt beneath this place. When your kind still worshipped the sun and feared the trees." He looked up. "There's something old in this ground. Something that taught the wolves how to be more than beasts. Something that made us kings." Sam narrowed his eyes. "You're not just turning during full moons. You're turning when you want to." The man smiled. "I'm not cursed. I'm chosen." Then his body began to change. Not like most werewolves. This wasn't pain. It wasn't a loss of control. It was a sacrament. Bones lengthened. Skin peeled. Fur erupted in seamless waves across his back. His face stretched into a muzzle, but the eyes stayed human. That made it worse. Dean fired. The silver bullet hit the creature's chest, and fizzled. Burned the fur, maybe. But it didn't stop him. The wolfman looked down, then laughed. "You brought silver," it said. "That's adorable." It lunged. Dean hit the floor hard. The creature crashed into crates, teeth snapping inches from his throat. Sam swung the machete. Caught its arm. It bled. But not like a normal werewolf. The blood was thick. Black. Almost tar-like. The thing yelped, whipped around, and slammed Sam into the wall. Dean scrambled to his feet. "Sam!" He pulled out the silver dagger, muttered a line of Latin, and drove it into the beast's thigh. This time it screamed. Actually screamed. Not in pain. In rage. "Enough!" It snarled. It threw Dean across the room. He crashed into the throne, snapped a shopping cart in half. Then the wolf turned to the altar wall and howled. The room vibrated. The symbols lit up. The stones cracked. And from the walls they came. 3 more. Smaller than the first. Feral. Snarling. Golden-eyed. Pack. They encircled the brothers. Dean staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his temple. Sam rose beside him, breathing heavy. They were surrounded. The big one, the alpha, Sam realized, stepped forward. I didn't bring you here to kill you. He knelt, stared directly into Sam's eyes. I brought you here to join. Dean spat blood. Hard pass. The alpha grinned. You'll beg for it. Before the end. Suddenly, the wall behind the throne shook, then collapsed, and through the cloud of dust came a figure, hooded, holding a silver-coated crossbow. A voice rang out. You always did love your speeches, Caleb. The alpha's grin faltered. The hooded figure stepped forward, lowered the hood. A woman, late 30s, sharp eyes, scar down one cheek. I told you, she said. You were never chosen. You were just loud. She fired. The bolt hit Caleb in the chest. He staggered back, howling. The lesser wolves lunged at her. Sam and Dean leapt into action, silver flashing. The chamber exploded into chaos. Blood sprayed across the stone floor. One wolf went down under Sam's blade. Dean emptied a clip into another's head. The woman ducked, reloaded, fired again. Caleb shrieked, claws flailing. But he didn't fall. He just vanished. Into the shadows. Silence fell. Only the hum of fluorescent bulbs leaking through the grates above. The woman turned to the brothers. You boys have a habit of showing up where things are just about to go to hell. Dean blinked. Who the hell are you? She smiled, exhausted. Name's Eliza. I hunt wolves. She looked down the tunnel where Caleb had fled. And that one? That wasn't just a werewolf. She met their eyes. That thing was blessed. Part 4, Predator Fate. The chamber stank of blood and burned fur. The creature, Caleb, was gone. Vanished down the dark arteries of the tunnels. His pack, or what was left of it, bled out across cracked stone and rusted piping. Dean crouched, inspecting the nearest corpse. Its skin was mid-shift, patchy fur, elongated claws, teeth still stretching human gums. He shook his head. Still warm. Thing went down hard. Sam wiped blood from his cheek and turned to the woman. Eliza, you said Caleb was blessed. That's not how werewolves work. Eliza reloaded her crossbow. Not normal ones. He's not your average curse case. He's something older. Smarter. He's trying to become more than a wolf. He's trying to become a god. Dean scoffed. He building a cult down here or writing a horror novel? She tossed Dean a leather-bound book, half-burned and soaked in something that smelled like sulfur and cheap cologne. Found this in a dead man's backpack. Some guy named Ellis Green. Worked stock at Walmart, until Caleb turned him. Pages are full of scribbled worship. Prayers. Moon sermons. Sam flipped through it. Eyes narrowed. It's a religion. A predator faith. Wolves made holy. Victims offered as tribute. This symbol. He pointed to a clawed circle repeated through the pages. I've seen it before. Eastern Europe. 16th century. Pre-Christian settlements. Worshipped a being called Velka, a moon-devouring spirit said to bless wolves with sentience. Blood for blood, pack for pack. Dean stood. So our guy's trying to become Velka's golden boy. Eliza nodded. He's not just killing. He's preaching. Turning others. Building towards something. Dean looked back toward the tunnel. Then we end the sermon. The trio climbed out of the tunnels and returned to the store. It was 4 a.m. The Walmart was still open. Still playing bad country music through the speakers. Still blinking sale signs over blood-soaked tiles. Dean looked around. No bodies. No blood. Cleaned. Covered up. Fast janitors, he muttered. Sam's face darkened. Or Caleb's controlling more people than we thought. Eliza pointed toward a row of employees unpacking boxes. They moved in rhythm. Too quiet. Too focused. None of them spoke. None of them blinked. Their eyes? Shimmering yellow. He's already spread it, she whispered. He's made this place his church. They ducked into the break room and locked the door. Sam pulled out his laptop, tethered to his phone, started searching the missing persons reports. Since the night of the first kill, over a dozen locals have vanished. All tied to the Walmart. All last seen clocking in. Dean holstered his pistol. So he's not just turning werewolves. He's turning believers. Sam glanced up. Velka's legend says it sleeps under a forest of glass and light. He paused. The fluorescent forest. Dean blinked. This place. Walmart. They moved fast. Eliza led them to the garden center. The original scene of the Tyler attack. Beneath the paving stones, there was another hatch. New. Still damp with blood at the edges. Sam knelt and whispered a prayer. The air around it shivered. Yep, he muttered. There's something old down there. They descended. This tunnel was different. Less industrial. More ritual. Bones lined the walls. Antlers. Teeth. Bells made from vertebrae hanging on red thread. And carved into the floor, etched in salt and blood, a massive version of the symbol, the clawed moon. At the center, a pool of liquid silver. But it wasn't reflecting them. It reflected something else. A forest under moonlight. Shadows moving. Shapes hunched and hungry. Dean whispered, "What the hell am I looking at?" Sam's voice trembled. "It's a veil. A place between. Caleb's trying to merge them. Bring the moon world here. And from behind them. You're just in time for the offering. Caleb. No longer half-whole. Now perfectly balanced. Human speech. Beast's body. His fur shimmered in the glow of the veil, and his eyes burned like twin moons. Behind him, more converts. Walmart uniforms torn and bloodied. Mouths open. Chanting. Dean raised his gun. Eliza readied her crossbow. Sam began the exorcism prayer. Even though this wasn't a demon, it was something worse. Caleb didn't flinch. He stepped toward the pool. "Velka is waking," he whispered, "and I am his prophet." He dipped his claws into the silver. The room trembled. The veil rippled. Something massive moved on the other side. A shape made of fur and shadow and teeth. A howl, long and old, echoed from beyond the veil. And Caleb smiled. Dean fired. The silver round struck Caleb between the ribs. He staggered, snarled, but didn't fall. He turned to Dean. "You can't kill Faith with bullets." Dean smirked. "No, but maybe we can burn it." He grabbed a flare from his coat, popped the cap, and hurled it into the silver pool. The veil exploded. Fire met the ancient liquid with a shriek. The reflection shattered. The chamber cracked. The followers screamed. Caleb howled, not in rage this time. In fear. The light burned him, peeling skin from fur from bone. He collapsed into the pool as it boiled, claws scrabbling against stone. Then silence. Nothing left but ash. And the echo of a shattered moon. Back in the store, the employees blinked. Looked around like waking from a coma. Carla stood behind the deli counter, holding a cleaver, confused and weeping. Dean helped her down. "You're gonna be okay." Sam met Eliza's eyes. "You ever seen anything like that?" She shook her head. "Not yet." Dean holstered his weapon. "Next time Velka wants to roll back prices on souls, he can do it somewhere else." They walked out into the breaking dawn. Moonless. Quiet. For now. Part 5, The Bleeding Hour. 3 days passed. No fresh bodies. No howls in the aisles. No yellow-eyed employees slicing up raw meat in the break room. The Lakewood Walmart reopened. Corporate sent in cleaners, new lighting, and a regional PR guy who said things like, "Isolated incident," and "restoring customer confidence." But Sam couldn't sleep, and Dean kept checking the sky, because both of them knew Caleb died too easy. They were packing up to leave the Timberline Motel when Eliza returned. She looked worse than before. Hollow-eyed. Pale. The scar on her cheek redder somehow, like it was pulsing. "Something's wrong," she said before they could speak. Sam looked up from his laptop. "What kind of wrong?" She dropped a bundle of local newspapers on the table. "Same thing. Different town. 3 more Walmarts. 3 towns. 3 employees found in the garden center, curled up like animals. No wounds. No trauma. Just dead. Eyes wide open. Mouths full of dirt. Hands folded like prayer." Dean looked at the headlines, then at her. "What are we talking? Copycat pack? New alpha?" Eliza shook her head. "Not a who. A when." She pointed to the time of death on all 3 reports. 4:44 a.m. Exactly. Each time. Sam turned the laptop. "I pulled the security cam timestamps. You're right." He zoomed in. Each recording showed the same thing. A flicker. A pulse in the feed. Then a shadow. Not a person. A figure. Tall. Hooded. Teeth like bone needles. Walking the aisles just before the deaths. And in each video, when the cameras distorted, the Walmart smiley face blinked. Once. Slow. Like it knew. Dean muttered, "I knew that thing was evil." Sam stared. "It's not Caleb." He opened a second window, Slowed footage from the Lakewood Vale chamber, just before it collapsed. Paused. Pointed. There. See it? Something stepped back before the veil shattered. Not Caleb. Something inside it. Watching. Dean's jaw clenched. Something came through. Eliza nodded. I think Velka's not a god. Not a demon. Not a thing you kill. She looked at both of them. I think it's an hour. They stared. She continued. Time of ritual. Time of hunger. Not a being, a window. And the cult wasn't worshipping a creature. They were feeding a moment. A time that comes once a night when the walls get thin. She leaned in. And now that it's been opened once, it's starting to feed itself. That night, they drove to Butte, Montana. The next Walmart on the trail. Big. Bright. Open 24 hours. They got there at 3:55 a.m. The air outside was wrong. Still. Too still. The wind wouldn't move. Bugs weren't chirping. Sam looked at his watch. 4:01. Inside, things were quiet. Too clean. Too perfect. Dean nudged a display of stacked soup cans. It didn't wobble. Not a single one rolled. Like gravity had forgotten to work. The greeter at the front, a man named Roger, name tag crisp, glasses too big for his face, looked up with eyes the color of old milk. You're too late for rollback, he said. Blood already rang out. Then he slumped over. Dead. No pulse. No scream. Just gone. Eliza pulled a silver charm from her belt. It vibrated in her hand like a live wire. Dean muttered, "This is feeling less werewolf and more demonic Super Bowl." Then the lights flickered. 4:43 a.m. They drew weapons. The floor began to hum. And down the main aisle, walking slowly past men's footwear, the figure appeared. Tall. Cloaked. Its hooded head turned slowly toward them. The moment it looked at Dean, he heard a voice in his mind. We fed on wolves. Now we feed on hunters. Dean gritted his teeth. Sam. Eliza. That ain't Caleb. Sam's voice was cold. No. That's the hour. In flesh. They raised weapons. The figure raised one long finger, pointed toward the ceiling. The Walmart smiley face sign above the registers blinked. Then it smiled wider, and the world bent. Lights shattered. The floor turned to mud. Shelves warped into twisted trees. Aisles stretched out into a forest of brands and bones. The figure stepped into the air, and the world turned feral. Sam fired the first shot. Silver round, useless. Eliza drew an obsidian blade. Dean screamed Latin through the roar of wind and glass. Et ora mortis nostrae, libera nos, Domini. At the hour of our death, deliver us, Lord. The creature staggered. Not hurt. Not killed. But slowed. That gave them seconds. Eliza hurled the blade. It struck the smiley face sign. It screamed. The walls rippled. The hour cracked. And the Walmart, twisted and warped, began to collapse in reverse. They woke on the tile. 4:48 a.m. Store lights back on. Shelves intact. Customers wandering dazed. No figure. No forest. just the aftermath of something hungry. Sam leaned against the shopping cart, shaking. That wasn't a werewolf. Eliza nodded. No, but it's what they worshipped. Dean looked at the ceiling. The smiley face was still there, but now it had a crack through its left eye. He muttered, "We pissed it off." Part 6. Always low prices. Dean hated Walmart, even before it tried to kill him. But now, every time he walked through those sliding glass doors and heard that soulless chime, his hand twitched toward the flask of holy water in his coat. And this one? This Walmart just outside Rawlins, Wyoming? It felt different the second they stepped in. The greeter was a mannequin. No movement. No voice. Just a plastic smile with faded red letters sharpened across its chest. "We bleed for better savings." Eliza stepped past it slowly. "We're not in the real world anymore." Sam scanned the space. The floor was too clean, too reflective. Every light in the ceiling hummed in perfect rhythm. Then Dean saw the employees. They weren't moving merchandise. They weren't helping customers. They were standing, side by side in front of the frozen food section, facing the wall. Hands clasped, chanting something too soft to hear. Sam checked his watch. 2:29 a.m. They had time. Barely. They passed aisle 6 and found the electronics section completely gutted. No TVs. No phones. Instead, hundreds of empty boxes were stacked floor to ceiling, each with handwritten labels. Silver Fangs $9.99. Blessed Salt, Low Sodium, $3.33. Holy Water, Family Size, $12.66. At the very center, a display stand. On it, a children's Halloween werewolf mask. Plastic. But the inside? Lined with fur. Still warm. Still wet. "Caleb left more than blood," Eliza whispered. "He left a blueprint." Sam flipped over the stand's base and found a sigil carved into the plastic. The same clawed moon symbol they'd seen in the ritual chamber. Dean cursed under his breath. "He's franchising faith now?" Eliza nodded. "Every converted store is a new church. Every broken 4:44 a.m., a prayer answered. The hour is spreading." Sam turned, eyes scanning the far aisle. There, a shimmer, barely visible, like heat off asphalt. Another veil, and beyond it, something moved. Slow, dragging limbs too long, eyes like low-burning coals. They moved fast. No talking. Weapons ready. Dean reached into his duffel and pulled out a box of old flare rounds. "Told you the clearance rack had the good stuff." They crossed into aisle 9. The air shifted. Cold. Heavy. The store was gone. Now it was trees again. The forest behind the shelves. But not made of wood. Made of signage. Branches that used to be coat hangers. Leaves shaped like price tags. Roots that hummed Walmart slogans. And at the center, the manager. It wasn't a person. It wore a vest. But its body was made of sale banners, rubber, teeth, bone. Its face was a rotted plastic mask with that eternal smile carved too deep. Its voice was the store's intercom, glitching between tones. "Welcome, valued customer. Your body is a gift to the brand. Prices so low. We bled to get them there. Eliza gasped. It's not a god. It's not even Velka. It's a spiritual parasite, shaped by worship, grown by ritual. Caleb didn't find it, it found him. Dean raised the flare gun. Yeah? Let's introduce it to clearance fire. He fired. The flare screamed through the forest. Hit the manager square in the chest. It shrieked, a sound like receipts ripping through flesh. The trees trembled. The price tags curled inward. The whole false forest began to burn. The creature staggered, but didn't fall. It split. One version of it burned. Another slipped back, through the veil, into the next store. Sam's face went pale. It's infecting locations. Every store. Every hour. Every night. Dean lowered the gun. So what do we do? Nuke retail? Eliza looked up. We find the original. The first store. The birthplace. The place where the wolf met the hour. Sam blinked. Arkansas. Part 6. Always low prices. Dean frowned. What? Sam turned the tablet to them. Bentonville. First Walmart. Built on top of a church burned to the ground in 1904. Records show disappearances. Bones in the soil. Caleb's writings mention a moon shrine beneath glass. Dean's eyes narrowed. Then it's time we went to headquarters. They left Rollins behind. Burned the store to the ground. No one noticed. Corporate chalked it up to spontaneous freezer malfunction. Another new location opened 2 towns over. Grand opening. Big sale. People smiled under fake lights, not knowing something was watching. Something that remembered the hour. And above the cash registers, the new sign blinked to life. Always low prices. Always. Part 7. The First Aisle. Bentonville, Arkansas. The original Walmart didn't look like much. Brick facade. Polished floors. A tourist stop now, half museum, half sanitized nostalgia. But Sam, Dean, and Eliza weren't there for a guided tour. They were there for the basement. The store was closed for renovation, but that didn't stop them from slipping in through a back entrance. Fake credentials and a bolt cutter did the trick. Inside, everything was too perfect. No dust. No smudges. Not a single thing out of place. But Sam was already watching the lights. They're flickering every 44 seconds. Dean raised a brow. Let me guess. A new hour? Eliza moved to the middle of the floor, crouched. No. The original hour. The one Velka woke beneath. She placed a silver coin on the ground. It rolled, then stopped, and spun in place. Not on its edge, flat. The floor beneath them was a disguise. Eliza pulled chalk from her coat and traced a sigil. One Caleb had scribbled dozens of times in his blood-washed notebooks. A circle of wolf teeth. A line through the moon. When she finished, the tile cracked. Just once. And then a perfect seam split open. They pried it up. Beneath it, old stone. Buried under the modern store, untouched since the early 1900s. Sam whispered, "This isn't just where the first Walmart opened. This is where the shrine was buried." Dean raised his gun. So let's pay our respects. The stairs led down into blackness. No pipes. No signage. Just stone steps, slick with moisture and time. The air smelled like wet pennies and dust. And the moment they crossed the threshold, the world shifted. Suddenly, they weren't in a basement. They were in a cathedral. Massive. Ancient. The stonework twisted into shelf-like alcoves, full of bones, feathers, receipts. At the far end stood a pulpit made of antlers and cash registers. And above it, a full moon, carved from bone, suspended in black void. Dean stepped forward. Tell me that's not a goddamn moon altar. Sam nodded. Velka's temple. Before it was paved over, Eliza whispered, this is where the hour was named. And then a voice filled the space. Low. Measured. Smiling. You returned to where it started. Good. The hour remembers you. From behind the pulpit, Caleb stepped out. Still wolf. Still man. But now, radiant. Like he'd fed on more than flesh. Like he'd fed on faith. His fur shimmered silver. His eyes bled light. And his voice no longer needed breath. You tried to burn me, he said, staring at Dean. You tried to close the veil, he said to Sam. And you, he turned to Eliza. You tried to erase me from your blood. He spread his arms. And yet, here we are. One aisle. One altar. 1 hour. Dean raised his pistol. Yeah? Let's make this your final clearance. He fired. Silver round. Caleb caught it midair. Crushed it in his palm. The blood that dripped was his, but it hissed like steam. He grinned. You brought bullets to a sermon. The walls began to pulse. The altar groaned. The false moon turned crimson. And from the aisles they came. Converted. Broken. Worshippers. Wearing Walmart vests, eyes glowing with moonlight. Dozens. All chanting. All converging. Sam unslung the sawed-off. Dean! We can't fight them all. Dean glanced at Eliza. Tell me you brought a nuke. She reached into her coat. Pulled out a bottle. Not holy water. Liquid eclipse. Moonblood drawn from a relic hidden beneath a chapel in Ukraine. One drop burned through flesh like sunlight. She held it out. If it hits the altar, it severs the hour. For good. Dean took it. You distract the Messiah. I'll wreck the moon. Sam and Eliza moved left. Dean bolted down the aisle, flanked by fanatics whispering sermons in tongues older than Latin. Caleb roared. Lunged. Dean ducked, slid under clawed arms, and threw the bottle. It struck the altar dead center. The splash was silent, but the effect was immediate. The moon above screamed. Stone cracked. The aisle split. Faith fractured. And Caleb dropped to his knees, clutching his skull. Eyes wild. The hour is mine! Dean approached. Not anymore. He raised the flare gun. Fired point blank. Caleb's body ignited. His howl was not of pain. It was of loss. Of a God denied. Of a sermon silenced. And then he was ash. Gone. The temple began to collapse. Sam grabbed Eliza. Move! They scrambled up the stairs, back through the fake floor, back into the fluorescent world. The tiles sealed behind them like it had never been broken. They stood in the empty store, sweating, shaking, alive. Dean caught his breath. "You think that was it?" Sam looked up at the smiley face sign. It was still there, still glowing, but no longer blinking. Eliza said, "We severed the root." Then she glanced toward the back wall. "But roots always leave seeds." Part 8, Rollback Resurrection. 2 weeks later. They thought it was over. Sam, Dean, and Eliza had burned the first altar beneath the Bentonville store. Crushed the Alpha, Caleb, under flare and silver. But the world didn't feel finished. Not when the moon still felt like it was watching. Not when every Walmart they passed seemed to flicker, just once, when they looked at it too long. Not when the cashier's eyes lingered a little too long on your reflection in the self-checkout screen. Then came the flyer, folded and slipped beneath the door of the Timberline Motel. Plain paper, printed in red. Grand reopening. Rollback resurrection. One night only, 4:44 a.m. Clearance for the faithful. Lakewood, Montana. The first Walmart. The first kill. The first howl. When they arrived, the store was glowing like it was Christmas Eve. Floodlights on. Parking lot full of empty cars. No people. Just shopping carts arranged in perfect circles. Sam muttered, "It's a trap." Dean holstered his weapon. "That's the idea." Inside, the store was unchanged, just as they left it, except for one difference. There were no aisles, no shelves, just a vast open space. White tile too clean. And in the center, a checkout lane. Only one. Register open. And behind it, the smiley face. No longer a sign. Now a being. Flesh stretched over plastic. Its mouth wide and yellow. Eyes void black. Its arms were conveyor belts. Its fingers, barcode scanners, twitching. And it was breathing, Eliza whispered. It survived the collapse. Sam nodded. Faith doesn't need a god. It just needs a symbol. Dean raised his gun. Then let's return it. The thing spoke. Its voice was dozens. Cashiers. Customers. Wolves. Caleb. A layered echo. You severed the hour. But commerce is eternal. Blood buys belief. And you never paid in full. It lifted one limb. Scanners glowed. Behind it, the tiles split open. From below, resurrected wolves. No longer Caleb's pack. These were refunds. Returned to life, misshapen. One had 2 heads. Another had a receipt stapled into its skin, looping the same curse. They howled in harmony. A choir of consumer resurrection. Dean emptied his clip. The bullets sparked off the plastic beast. Sam lit a flare, hurled it. One wolf screamed, but the rest came fast. Eliza dropped to her knees, drew a moon circle in salt. It's not enough to burn it, she said. We have to unmake it. Sam pulled out the relic they'd recovered days earlier, the first return receipt, printed on old wax paper, signed in blood. Rumor said it was the first spiritual transaction made under Velka's name, an agreement to never stop selling faith. On the back, in barely legible ink, were words written in ancient Enochian. Dean grabbed it. Read them out loud. The store screamed. Lights shattered. Floor cracked. The smiley dropped from the checkout pedestal, howling with static and glitch. Its plastic smile turned to jagged teeth. You cannot return the leaf, it growled. Dean grinned. But we can cancel the account. Eliza pulled a silver fuse box from her bag, rigged with wire, salt, moonlight resin, and an old prepaid debit card soaked in holy oil. She slammed it into the tile. The store froze. The wolf stopped. The smiley staggered. And then, Dean whispered the final words. Always low prices. Always. And he pulled the trigger on the device. Everything detonated in light. Not fire. Not electricity. But reversal. Shelves unbuilt. Carts unwheeled. Price tags peeled backward into nothing. Wolves turned to paper. The smiley face cracked. And behind it, where belief once pulsed. Emptiness. Clean. Silent. Human. They woke in the parking lot. Dawn breaking. The Walmart? Gone. Just a crater now. Filled with still air and morning light. Sam stood first. Part 8, Rollback Resurrection. Think that was the last of it? Dean nodded slowly, then paused. Across the street, taped to the bus stop. A new flyer, blue and red. Just one line. Now hiring. Apply within. Below it, a tiny yellow smiley face. No eyes. No mouth. Just a blank circle. Dean sighed. Can't ever kill an idea, can you? Sam looked at him. Then we keep hunting the ones that believe it. Eliza walked up, adjusting her coat. You boys want to split a coffee? Or burn another symbol of capitalism to the ground? Dean grinned. Let's do both.